next question deals with the generations in the workforce. And with 4 generations in the workforce, the millennials, the Gen Xers, the baby boomers, and the traditionalists, how is your organization managing the mix in the workplace, and what specifically is learning and development doing to assist in managing that mix?
I think the trap here is to assume that everybody of a particular generation prefers everything the same way. So what we're trying to think about is what works broadly for people across the organization, not, oh, that person is of this generation, they must want it delivered this way. Our clients, TI Crest clients, are pretty tech savvy because they work in higher education, and higher education was sort of at the forefront of technology and the internet and having email. So we're trying to think about how do we leverage multiple things across the organization. And I would love to say we've thought deeply about each of the generations. We haven't.
What we found at Bank of America is it actually fits into the issues of diversity, just in general. And so it's, I would say, less about learning, and I would like to put in a plug at the bank. I think one thing that's worked extremely well over the past few years has been a focus on affinity groups. And so the learning team is actually very well connected to these affinity groups, trying to help them from a development and support standpoint. And what we're finding is those groups are driving the training, right? They're driving the training needs. The structure for each of the affinity groups is you have a kind of a lead for the affinity groups. You have chapters of the affinity groups in different locations. And then from there, they do set up a pretty structured agenda and an approach. So it definitely to make sure it's just got some continuity and some legs. But the number of chapters across the country that have continued to sprout up tells me that there's a lot of pull, especially on the generational side.
Yeah, great.
I would also say that what cuts across all generations is that they need to build a relationship with their manager and have a trustworthy relationship. And so what we are doing is helping people win at work by teaching them the importance of trust and how to build those trusting relationships. You know, people either stay or leave their employer based on their first-line supervisor, most likely. So it's important that that supervisor is one that they can trust. And so we use a lot of tools such as situational leadership in our programs, in our management programs, to develop leaders who can build trust and be trustworthy. So I think that cuts across all generations in terms of helping all generations win at work.
I really liked what you said, Mark, too, about sometimes we make generalizations. So we try to focus, or we do focus in our supervisor courses about really getting to know the individuals on your team. You know, so much of management and leadership is building that relationship with your employee and, you know, setting expectations, but following up with them, but getting to know what motivates them, how they like to learn. So it's exactly like what Lisa was talking about. We have a lot of that built into our coursework.